Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary. We are doing a series of videos called the Sex Cards, and we are now on the 47th card of the total series, which is laid out here. We are now in the suit of sound, and we are going through the keys of the scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, getting to a higher frequency, and we are now on the letter E. So this would be the 5th card up in the suit of sound, so we call it the 5 of sound. E. We use the cards to portray meaning and to evoke energy. And this card is the Temperance card in the Tarot love system. It shows, I'll pick this card up, it shows the lover, because this is all about the lover. That's the central concept, idea, or experience that holds the whole system together. That's like the sun at the center of a solar system, or the point at the center of a circle. That's the word lover in the personal sense. So we have a personal relationship with the lover. But the lover is the whole of things, so that cannot be really known. You can't know the whole directly, because then you would be the whole. And then you get an infinite regression. So we do know ourselves as a lover or an anti-lover, and we know other people indirectly through ourselves as lovers. That's what's behind that word, and that's what holds the whole system together. Here in the card, the lover is portrayed as an angel. But instead of being an angel, which is a messenger, we just directly see the lover here. The lover has 2 wings. Now that's a symbol of a bird, because a bird can fly through the air. The bird is free, more free than we are, because a bird can fly. But more than that, the wings are of the 2 sides of the lover's body, particularly the vulva of the woman. That's the 2 sides of her vulva. The vulval lips are her wings. In the love culture, clitoral thinking rather than clinical thinking. Critical thinking, looking both ways, but favoring the clitoral thinking. Anyway, the lover there is holding 2 chalices in her hand, pouring water from one to the other. This is a dynamic action of love, of sharing, giving. One chalice is giving and the other is receiving. One chalice is empty and the other is having energy. The 2 words are playing off each other, empty and energy. So as one chalice empties, the other energizes. And then it goes the other way. When the other one empties, the other one energizes. This is a love action. All of nature is like that. One part gives and the other receives. One empties and the other energizes. These are called sex cards, so sex is the main activity that empties and energizes, I should say. Sex or love. Love is a generalized term. Sex is the specific term that zeroes in on the energy that is being enacted. The very essence of the love culture was sexual practices, which were not, as they are today under patriarchy, privatized, monetized, controlled, separated, nuclearized. All kinds of I's and isms have been used to destroy the sexual practices of the love culture, because those practices were anti-patriarchal. They went against the grain of the patriarchal values, different kind of pyramid, as I said many times. And these love practices were open, they were communal, they were not laden with sex, repression, fear, terror, and power as we experience them today. They were open, as I said. And in the reenactment of those sexual practices, the love culture perpetuated itself. In other words, it was constantly reenacted. You constantly experienced what the stories told you. We all have stories to explain who we are. That's how we reach self-understanding, not by analysis so much, but by the stories, the mega-stories that we hear. And so the love government had stories that were all about the lover, how the lover created through her sexual activity, and still does. And then that was reenacted in these ceremonies. And that was woman-centered, it was clitoral-centered, rather than clinical, and it was earth-centered, life-centered, because the woman brought forth the children. That is the salvation part of the culture, and she also menstruated monthly, so that's the nourishing of the earth through her blood. Love is carried in the blood, and through her ovulation and her sexual activities, she energized the earth. Her fluids were like water for the earth, made the world grow like a garden. All of that we have lost, almost all. 99% of that is gone. It's been killed off by the anti-love campaign of patriarchy, because patriarchy basically hates that system and tries to kill it, and is still doing so because they're not in power. Something else. Love is in holding the cards, holding the trump cards. That love holds the trump cards through this system of the earth-based triangle over the vulva of the woman planted deep into the earth. That's the most natural, most powerful system. But it's not a coercion, fraud, and force system. It doesn't force anybody. It offers the freedom. Patriarchy isn't like that. It forces things. It powers over. It tells lies, and it's fraudulent. That's the way it gets its way. So the patriarchy tries to kill those sexual practices. And we'll spell out 5 basic ways through the handbook. Use the hand, which is a love instrument, by the way. The main sexual organ, you could argue, is your hand, or even more than your genitals, because you make love with your hands. Well, you might not be getting into genital sex at all. You touch another person, you caress them, you handshake, you comfort them, put your arms around them, you hug. None of that is overtly sexual. But you're making love that way with your hands. So we use the handbook, and there's 5 main actions that either enhance love or destroy it. And the thumb, it stands for the clitoris because it more or less resembles the clitoris, and the tongue, it's about language. And that is clitoral language, clitoral lifestyle, clitoral thinking, where you see love using the clitoris as a symbol, and then you see the full woman's body and the man's body, because as I said, man also has a clitoris inside of his penis. It assists in ejaculation and in erection. That type of thinking, that type of lifestyle, that kind of value system goes contrary to patriarchy, which is more clinical, mechanistic, machine-like, sterile, artificial, unnatural, etc., etc. Along those lines, that's what patriarchy can control it. It can make money off it, and they can boost their ego and build up this pyramid here, this kind of a pyramid, which is money, power, and pornified sex. So they try to destroy this one. That's still going on. And they do it chiefly through the language, through the values, through the picturing, through what you're choosing. That's symbolized by the thumb. Then the second one, this is the index finger, that's the eating finger, the tasting finger, and that's through diet. Patriarchy will destroy the love culture through its diet, and it's doing that today. You know, the GMO foods and the chemicalized foods and the artificial foods and the going to the supermarket shelves, you know, it's not really food anymore. It's not real food. It's chemicalized, processed junk food. And then you go to the fast food stuff and fast food restaurants and all that. We're not eating real food anymore, and so it's that we're destroying ourselves that way. And that's not even to mention all the artificial drugs we take into our bodies, the nicotine, caffeine, you know, amphetamine, all kinds of stuff, you know. Smoke it, drink, inject it, anything to get away from the pain of facing real love, see? Real love. So diet is a big thing. We say eat a eaten vegan diet. That's the ideal. And then the middle finger, I'm just going through the fingers now briefly, because we're getting near the end of this series. I want to keep tying it together in a practice. I want to apply it, and I'm going to apply it more directly when we get to the sex signs of what the handbook means. But the middle finger is about animality, and that's where pethood comes in. Pethood is a huge problem of destruction in a very devious way. It's destroying our planet by making a monster species that's neither human nor animal. You got a monstrosity, but it doesn't look that way, so it fools us. But the love government will spell out just how that happens and why it is destructive. The other thing that's destructive is this finger here, the ring finger here in the States, and that's the marriage system. Terribly destructive. But again, it flies under pretty colors, so we don't notice it. But it's a nucleating system. It's a nuclear bomb that goes off in a devious way. So people couple up in a twosome. They couple up like this, like a train, boxcars together. And so they or they go like this, or this, boom. It's a coupling process. Sometimes it works, because the people are already lovers when they go into it. But the system of doubling up, coupling up, nucleating, as a system, is very destructive. It's contrast with the love culture, which is open. Open. The community has sex. At least 3 people. The third person adds the communal element to it. But we don't go that way because the nuclear coupling arrangement can't be controlled by church and state, patriarchal. It's controlled. It's monetized. And it separates off from the whole community. So you get together with your soulmate, so to speak, or your body mate, or your whatever, and then you tend in that manner. You want to create your own nuclear family, your own little house, your own little car, and if it goes to an extreme, you're really saying in that action, to hell with the others. I got my house, I got my car, I got my husband, I got my wife, and you better leave that alone, or I will, you'll get what's coming to you. So we protect this nucleated system, and it produces nuclear reactions. But all under the covers, all under the disguises of, who can question it? Am I questioning marriage? Well, no and yes. We're married to the lover primarily. That's the third element, right? From all these cards you got, in this card, for example, you have the angel in the middle, and then in other cards you see 2 people in the picture. It's the third element, the communal element, that goes against the grain of the culture. It goes against the nuclearization of the world. And then there's more. Then the 5th finger is the cultural finger. That's the money finger, the little finger of money, the money system. I'm trying to get us prepared for the tying together. As we get near the end of these things, we need to tie together, and then we apply the principle. And that's where the pedal hits the metal. That's where, the wheels hit the road. When you get some traction, when you actually apply these things, that's what's going to make the difference in the world. Otherwise, it's basically just talk, and talk is pretty cheap, really. Talk is vitally important if it's words that are based in a clitoral context as opposed to a clinical mechanistic context. Thank you then for being with us in these ceremonies, these rites, these celebrations. And we thank all of the other lovers who have been with us. And we tie it all together in a final sign of love of some sort. And it doesn't have to be a sign. It can be just, let's say it's a nun sign. Let's not even use a sign. When the house of cards falls and there's only us left, that's all that's left. Thank you. Love.